She wanted comfort. But his dangerous touch ignited forbidden desire. The fire in the old stone hearth crackled, sending faint shadows flickering across the walls of the mountain cabin. Rain battered the windows in relentless sheets, turning the world outside into a blur of storm and darkness. Elara pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders, but no fabric could warm the hollow ache in her chest. She had run for hours, stumbling through mud and wind, away from the city, away from the choices that had shattered her quiet life. She hadn't planned on ending up here, in a stranger's cabin perched on the edge of the wild, but fate, it seemed, had dragged her where it wanted. The man who had given her shelter stood near the fire, silent and watchful. His name was Kael. She had learned only that much, and even that he had offered with reluctance. Broad-shouldered, his dark hair damp from the storm, he radiated an intensity that made the small cabin feel smaller still. His eyes, an unnatural shade of gray, seemed to hold secrets she both feared and wanted to uncover. "Drink this," Kael said at last, handing her a steaming mug. His hand brushed hers, warm against her chilled skin. The contact was brief, accidental perhaps, but it sent a shiver spiraling down her spine. She caught her breath and focused on the tea instead. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice unsteady. He only nodded, but his gaze lingered on her for a heartbeat longer than necessary. For a while they said nothing. The storm howled, the fire snapped, and the silence between them thickened until it seemed almost alive. Elara clutched the mug as though it were a lifeline, yet her heart thudded with something she could neither name nor deny. Kael finally broke the quiet. "Why were you out there alone?" His voice was low, gravelly, carrying the weight of questions he didn't want to ask. Elara hesitated. She had fled betrayal, humiliation, and the cruel hands of people she once trusted. But those truths felt fragile in this place, in front of this man. She met his gaze and, to her own surprise, confessed, "I didn't know where else to go. I just needed to get away." Kael's jaw tightened. He said nothing, but his eyes darkened as though he understood more than he let on. He moved closer, not sitting beside her but leaning against the mantel, arms crossed. The firelight carved shadows across the planes of his face, emphasizing the sharp line of his cheekbones, the dangerous strength in his posture. "You'll be safe here tonight," he said, but the words felt more like a promise than reassurance. The word should have comforted her, but it didn't. Instead, her pulse quickened. For beneath his promise lay something unspoken, something that pulled at her like gravity. She told herself she only longed for comfort, for warmth, for kindness. Yet every time Kael's eyes lingered on her, something forbidden stirred within her chest. She set the mug down, hands trembling. "Why are you here? Alone in a place like this?" His lips curved, not quite a smile. "Some people aren't meant to live among the rest." The words unsettled her, though not for the reasons they should have. They whispered of danger, of a man who had carved his own exile, who had secrets sharp enough to cut. And yet, instead of retreating, she leaned forward, drawn in by the raw honesty behind them. "What are you running from, Kael?" she asked softly. His eyes met hers, a storm within a storm. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer. Too close. The air between them tightened like a string pulled taut, ready to snap. Elara's breath caught as Kael's hand brushed against hers again, this time not by accident. His touch was deliberate, lingering, heavy with a tension that burned hotter than the fire beside them. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured. "You don't know what kind of man I am." She should have pulled away. She should have feared him. But fear tangled with something else, something reckless. Her heart betrayed her, hammering with an ache that begged not for safety but for the very danger he represented. "Maybe I don't want to know," she whispered back, her voice trembling with truth. "Maybe I just need this." Kael froze, his hand still resting on hers. His expression hardened as though he fought some invisible battle inside himself. The silence stretched, broken only by the storm. Then, with a sharp breath, he cupped her cheek. His calloused palm was rough, almost bruising in its intensity, yet she leaned into it as if it were the only anchor left in her world. "Don't tempt me, Elara," he said, voice ragged. "Once I start, I don't stop." Her lips parted, her resolve unraveling. "Then don't stop." The fire hissed as though protesting, but neither of them listened. Kael's lips found hers, hungry, unrestrained, igniting everything she had tried to bury beneath grief and fear. His kiss was not gentle. It was dangerous, claiming, the kind that consumed rather than comforted. And yet, within its danger, she found the very solace she had been searching for. Elara clung to him, her fingers gripping the fabric of his shirt as though afraid he might vanish. His touch seared her skin, awakening every nerve, every forbidden desire she had denied for so long. The storm outside raged on, but inside, another storm had been born, one far more perilous. When at last he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers, his breath uneven. His eyes, once cold, now burned with something raw and unguarded. "You don't know what you've started," he whispered. She looked into his storm-gray gaze and found no regret, only truth. "Maybe it's exactly what I needed to start." The storm would pass. Dawn would come. And with it, consequences neither of them could yet see. But in that cabin, in that moment, Elara no longer craved safety. She craved him, danger, scars and all. And Kael, against every vow he had made to himself, craved her just as fiercely. The night stretched on, long and unyielding, a testament to the fire they had ignited, a fire that comfort could never kindle, but desire could never quench. The fire burned low, throwing shadows across the cabin walls, but Elara no longer felt the cold. Her lips still tingled from Kael's kiss, her pulse racing in a way she hadn't thought possible after the pain she'd endured. His dangerous touch had not destroyed her, it had awakened her. Kael sat back slightly, his thumb tracing the edge of her jaw as though memorizing her face. Conflict raged in his storm-gray eyes, the kind of war fought not with weapons but with desire and restraint. "You shouldn't stay," he said hoarsely. "I'm not the man you think I am." Elara met his gaze, unflinching. "I don't care who you are, Kael. I only care how you make me feel. For the first time in a long time, I'm alive." His breath caught, and she felt the tremor in his hands. For all his strength, all his warnings, she knew he was as bound by this moment as she was. The world outside was chaos, storm, betrayal, everything she had fled, but here in his arms she found a truth deeper than fear. Kael leaned his forehead against hers, his voice breaking with a vow he shouldn't make. "If you stay, I won't be able to let you go." Elara closed her eyes, the decision already made. "Then don't." The storm outside howled one last furious cry, as if protesting the bond forged within. But neither of them moved away. Their fate had been sealed, not by safety, not by reason, but by the dangerous fire of desire. Whatever came with dawn, they would face it together. For the night belonged to them.